Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're diving into the world of Bitcoin and we're going to be taking a look at the weekly, daily and hourly charts to see exactly what is likely to happen next here with BTC. Now I do see some interesting things looking like they're going to start to move to the upside. So we're going to get into what is going on with Bitcoin in just a moment. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that out of the way, let's dive right into this weekly chart and talk about what's going on here with Bitcoin. As we can see, there are 5 impulse waves to the upside. Okay, this really kind of starts right the way back here actually in December of 2018, just after we had the initial all-time high pull back in the course of 12 months, and we started to see a trigger to a new kind of bull cycle. Then we started to see a significant pullback here with wave 2. This particular area was enhanced by the pandemic of March 2020. Okay. That was pretty much the low point of our wave 2 before we started to see a good surge to the upside, where we recently peaked out with wave 3 up at $65,000. We then started to see a pullback, okay, then bringing us into these lower areas here, and seemed to bottom out with wave 4 just at the bottom here. Of course, this could be a part of a bigger ABC correction wave, which is why we still have our yellow line just signaled out here at $20,000. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you what that could look like if we are still in that correction phase. Let me just find my ABC if I can see it. There we go. So we could be looking at this big A, and then we come up to B, and then come down to a C, right? We could be looking at something like this, but I do think that's highly unlikely. It's not impossible, obviously, which is why I talk about it here. But for me personally, I think it's the probability of that occurring is slimming. It's getting lower and lower in probability right now, specifically as we edge closer to the upside and break the previous all-time high. Okay, so it does look that we have bottomed out with wave 4, but we're always quite skeptical until we pass through some key technical areas to make sure that that ABC isn't something that we actually do end up seeing. Okay, so it's important that we do acknowledge what is ultimately potentially on the horizon here, and an ABC is one of those things, but I do think that actually we're more than likely going to be pushing to the upside. Okay, which basically triggers in our big 5th wave to the upside overall, right? So again, it's mindful just to be aware of a potential ABC, but I don't think it's likely. And obviously be aware that we are looking to push up into new all-time highs in the month of October, month of November, and of course December, as we edge closer to our 4.236 extension based on the high of 3 and the low of 4, indicating $182,000 Bitcoin, okay? So it'd be interesting to see how things kind of progress towards that target. Overall, from March 2020 through to the peak up here in April of 2021, we've seen 1,600% in gains, which is obviously significantly smaller than many of the altcoins in the space. That being said, it's still pretty good for Bitcoin, and we can see a nice surge to the upside as well. So as we jump down into our daily view, here we can see a little bit more on what is actually going on with Bitcoin. As I said, we do have the Fibonacci retracement from the all-time high area of wave 3, the lows of wave 4, and again, this then indicates to us going up to $181,500, okay? So good progress. With that being said, there's some interesting things that are more here and now, because this is the kind of target that we have by the end of the year, roughly around December, end of December 2021. It might go into January. Timing is usually the hardest thing to gauge, so we obviously have a bit of a flavor as to where things are likely to go, and roughly the kind of timelines. Now, what we do have is a more immediate kind of target, okay? And that's basically with a cup and handle that's been forming here on the daily, okay? This one is targeting up here at $67,789, okay? So the cup and handle, for those who are unfamiliar, creates a cup just down here, so we can see that we have the cup, okay? Then we have a handle that pulls down, and then we shoot up from the bottom of the handle up to a 1.618 extension on a Fibonacci. So basically taking the high of our handle, the low of our cup, you take those two things into consideration, and then you're able to plot out approximately where you're going to land when you get that spike to the upside. Now, this one here comes in at 67K, so that's where we kind of are expecting Bitcoin to kind of land during this this next leg, okay? So pretty good progress so far on the way up here after finding the bottom of our handle. But we are, of course, in this key technical area, right? The 618.702.786. Okay, so we're getting that battle, and ultimately we are trying to get above $57,000. Okay, that's the kind of target that we have right now. Once we're above that, we should be pushing up nicely towards the previous all-time highs. Okay, so progress is being made right now in terms of Bitcoin here on the daily. And we are, of course, overbought on our stochastic. This is something that's perfectly fine. We can be overbought for quite some time, like we were previously over here during this wave. But of course, you know, at the same time, we can lower that stochastic while still pushing the price up. This is just indicating momentum. So as we start to push up, but we lose momentum, we kind of plateau a little bit, okay? So the expectation will be to eventually pull this stochastic down. It doesn't mean the price has to move down. It can, of course, move up. So as we kind of approach our 67K, so the expectation would be that we'll slowly lower our stochastic down over time, okay? But for now, this is actually in a pretty good position. We have got a pretty good motion to the upside overall. And again, I do think and anticipate a 67K Bitcoin. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to just jump down into our... Actually, before I do that, I am going to just quickly clean this up because there's a little bit of clutter, right? If I just get rid of some of these, we don't need all these circles kind of cluttering up our chart, right? I'll jump down into our hourly, but before we really talk about what's going on here, we also want to just acknowledge the artificial intelligence and machine learning at advice.io. Advice.io basically help you understand the underlying value of cryptocurrency. If you're not familiar, there's a link in the description down below. Do sign up, it's completely free, and you'll be able to get a deeper understanding of your cryptocurrencies just by using this platform. So really do recommend it, guys. The artificial intelligence in this platform is right more often than not. And of course, you can invest in the Avai token, place that into a trust wallet, link that to the platform, and you'll unlock additional features in the future. A lot of that is still to be announced, so do watch the space for that one. But this platform, guys, I do think has some serious potential, well worth checking out. So we're just going to dive into Bitcoin here. You can see that's got a B1 rating overall, okay? So considering all the data, Avai here have basically come out with a B1 rating. So actually it's on the cusp of entering into the A rating, okay? So it's actually doing pretty well. Now we can break this down a little bit deeper. We have a fear and greed index now at B1. So actually it's now moving up in towards the greedy area rather than just the fearful area. So previously, a few days ago, this was extremely fearful, all the way down at rating D. And now we're climbing up significantly. Right now, we're almost entering into a world of greedy. This is where you start to see more FOMO activity starting to occur. So the artificial intelligence is already picking up on this. This is a key metric to understand. We have a Sharpe ratio, which is A2, well above our 50-day average. Now, this is indicating your risk reward. Is it risky to hold Bitcoin? And are you actually going to potentially be damaging your rewards if you were to hold Bitcoin? This A2 rating is indicating that actually it might be worth holding Bitcoin right now and is actually in your favor. So that's a pretty good metric to understand as well. As we come on down here, we can also see we have an A2 rating for the moving averages. They're looking pretty good. The peak end value demand's up at B2. The liquidity is still a problem at C2. So there are some liquidity-based problems for Bitcoin. So we have to be mindful over that. Buying and selling Bitcoin could potentially become problematic. And we do have an A1 profitability, right? So the best rating you can get from a profitability point of view. 1,600% isn't too bad either. It's not the best that we've seen. Our portfolio has definitely got some better performing assets in it rather than Bitcoin. But that being said, it's still performing incredibly well. So overall, everything on the data side for Bitcoin and the underlying data that Avai dashboard has basically indicated to us is actually indicating pretty good things. And when we jump back into this particular area, this being the hourly chart, we can actually then analyze not only just the charts, but also understand what the sentiment is like in the market on our hourly chart here. So be able to give us kind of a good understanding as to where things are potentially going to go next. Now, what I'm going to do is on this shorter time frame, I'm just going to draw a quick trend line. Obviously, I don't generally like trend lines too much because they are the easiest thing to invalidate, but this just helps me kind of articulate what I'm going to kind of show you guys. Okay, so what we have is basically a touching of our trend line down here, starting this trend, pushing up, finding resistance just up here, okay, coming back down, retesting after breaking past the previous downtrend, retesting that trend line and also the support level of 50k, and then shooting to the upside, right? Just coming above the area of the 702, okay? Retesting the 702, breaking below the 702, and fighting and holding the 702 area right here, okay? So what we've done is actually kind of held this area of 54k. We've held it quite well. and we've come down towards our trend line, okay, our upward trend line that we've tested on a couple of occasions already. Okay, we haven't retested it, but we are getting close to retesting it right now. I think that the second that we kind of come in touch with this particular trend line, we're going to shoot on up past the 57k area. Again, we take a look at that stochastic RSI on this hourly, and we can see that we're just exiting the oversold area, right? So now we're looking for that sentiment, right? That sentiment that we saw here, which has moved up from a fearful area to a pretty neutral area, is now obviously working for us. So knowing that we're down here against this key area, looking to go above the 786, okay, currently testing the 702, getting that closed candle above 57k is going to be absolutely key. So I reckon a test of our trend line here could be all that is required to then take us above the 57k area on the chart, get the closed candle above the 786, and then signal in the next move to the upside overall. I do think all-time highs are just around the corner, and as we can see, our 67k is not too far away from where we are right now. So overall, I do anticipate that we are likely to test our trend line, move on past the 786, back test on the 786, and then move on up, okay, towards our 67k target, okay? So overall, everything's looking pretty good for Bitcoin. I wanted to kind of give you guys a bit of a brief update on what to expect next. I think on the short term, we should be looking pretty bullish, pushing back to the upside overall, and trying to look for new all-time highs in the next few weeks or so. I do anticipate October we're going to complete that cup and handle, taking us to the 67k area, and then from there in November we'll go much further beyond. Obviously on the longer time frames, so when we take a look at the weekly, obviously talking about pushing up into this fifth wave nice and strong, and aiming for $181,500 by the full 4.236 extension based on the performance of wave 3 and wave 4. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. Hopefully you have found this video useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.